Hey, it's Alison Meredith here again with Holston and Garner IT, and I'm just delighted to have Ruth Grunstra with me. Ruth, my teenager, was just giving me so much pushback the other day and telling me he doesn't like my screen time rules, and I'm crazy mom, and I'm unrealistic, and just what do I do? You are the parenting guru, so give me some advice.
Well, I'd start off, first of all, with making sure that my communication with my child is open and good. If you're having trouble just communicating in general, go for working on that first before
Uh,
you start throwing rules
knew
at
you were
them.
going to say that. See, I want the easy button. I want the quick fix. But guys, let me give a little more full introduction here. Ruth Grunstra has 8 kids who are all adults now, and I know all of them. They are all fantastic people. And if I want to be like Ruth when I grow up, let me just put it like that. She really knows what she's talking about when it comes to parenting. And now she's actually got a website, bristolparenting.com. So I'm delighted to have you, Ruth. You know, we've been doing this webinar series about screen time and digital communication. It's such a vast ocean for us
Mm-hmm.
moms and dads to navigate. And I do actually have that question of like, how can I get my teenager to listen? But so many other parents have it too. So
Yep,
as you know, I asked you to come on to just talk about communication. It's hard. I mean,
it
give
is.
me the big picture. Like, give me some tips.
Well, first of all, I'd like to encourage all the parents that are listening that it's never too late to start communicating with your children. It's no matter how old they are, no matter what they're into, what they're doing, they care about you. They care about your perspective of them. They want to have a relationship with you.
Right.
So make sure that you don't get scared and run away and don't engage them or throw things at them that they don't want to hear. So start by showing them that you care by listening. And listening to them means don't talk when they're talking, means don't talk over them, listen to what they're saying, hear them. And I encourage making a daily practice of it. I mean, making it something that you do. My mom used to do it at night with me when I was growing up. I mean, I can't remember a time when my mom didn't come into my room at night and just let me talk. Or
Wow.
if I didn't say something, she would ask questions. How was your
Right.
day? What are you
Right.
doing? Who are your friends? What are you into? What are you enjoying? What's hard right now? And I have basically learned to talk when I'm with my mom. If my mom shows up, I start talking.
So talking. Right.
She's created that habit in me. And we can do that as parents. We can teach our children to engage us and to talk with us and to know that you're a safe place. And that requires not judging. That
Right.
requires listening.
Tricky. And so I guess like back it up a little because I know with my kids many times I've kind of dug my own hole. It's like they got all this passion and I just want to like I don't have time for you. And maybe I really don't. Maybe I'm cooking dinner or I've got an
Right.
important client phone call or whatever it is.
Right.
But
We have lives. We have
we
lives
have lives. And
we're
so
doing things. We're cooking dinner. We're talking to our boss on the phone or whatever, especially with COVID now we're at home, maybe working from home. But if you make a point of teaching your children that you want to hear what they have to say, and when they come in with something, they're burning up inside with something to share with you, and you're busy, say, I will meet with you, and give them a specific time or a
right.
specific,
It's
go
good
over
advice.
here and wait for 10 minutes. I'll be done. And then do it. You have to follow through. You have to be really, really make that a priority, is to make sure that you don't forget to go talk to them. You don't dismiss them. You don't make them feel like they're less than, so that you make that point to go and talk to them. Schedule it like,
Right. No, that's good advice. It certainly worked with my own kids. So talk a little more about I love that you opened with it's never too late because I know many parents are feeling that specifically
yeah,
with screen
it's
time.
scary. Yeah.
It's scary and I think the teenage years, really any age of parenting has its own challenges, but I know I think teenagers they're leaping into adulthood. They're trying to assert their independence, and like give me some tips for what if my teenager has shut me out. So you keep saying listen to them, but what if they don't want to talk? Like, do you have any
Right.
tips for how to pull them out? Or
You can do multitude of things. One, you can play games. You can have a family night. You can institute some of those things. um, I honestly, my thing is just sit them down and say, we're gonna have a talk. I need to talk to you. I need to get to know you. I don't know what you're into, what you're doing, and I love you and I care. So I'm
right,
going to take that time and I'm going to give you my attention, set you aside, and go out to lunch, go out for coffee, do something like that.
Whatever. And if it's a pandemic, go out for coffee in your living room. I mean, just
Exactly.
be creative. I mean, I love how
Exactly.
you've written here in this slide, learn who they are, what they love, what they dream about. That's brilliant. I want to add to that, 'cause for this particular topic, I have heard from so many moms who are they're like, well, I don't like video games, or I don't like whatever. And I've been saying, guys, go pretend to like them. Fake it until
Yes.
you make it. Like if your
Yes.
kid is doing this with his Nintendo, then go sit next to him and be
Yep.
like, hey, tell me about this game. What's the goal?
I do that with my grandkids. I do that now. I even do that with Isaac. He plays some games and I sit there and watch him because
Yeah.
that's over the shoulder. I know you've talked
Right,
about
over
that
the shoulder,
before.
yeah.
Be over the shoulder. And I learn about him when he does that. I learn about my grandson when he's playing his little game. So yes, definitely make a point of, you don't have to enjoy it. You just have to do it. And you have to
Yeah.
show them that you do it because you love them.
Right, and that's the thing, like moms who say, well, I don't like X, what Minecraft, whatever it is that they're playing.
Right, right.
Well, you like your kid, right? And your kid
Exactly.
likes Minecraft, so
That's the
you're going to
point.
pretend
That's
to
the
like
point. Yeah.
Minecraft. And even if your kid says, "Is this my mom?" Like, then all the
It takes
better.
time.
It
It takes time. It takes time, and you have to make the time. So, but it's going to take time, and it's going to be, like you said before, inconvenient. You're going to be in the middle of something. You're not necessarily going to want to do it, but you choose to do it because it's how you connect. You're
'Cause you're
connecting
going
with
for
your
the long
child.
game. You're
You're
gonna be
going for
their
the long
mom or
game.
their dad for their life,
That's
okay?
right.
So, I love this concept of being inconvenienced. Reminds me of when one of the times I first met you was when that chess club that I hosted here at my house years ago, uh, we won't say how many years ago, and I really didn't know you that well, and so here's this new friend who showed up at my house with her cute kids, and we're playing chess, and suddenly 2 of my kids, maybe ages 7 and 5, started to get into a little fight, and I just kept talking because I thought that was polite, and I'll never forget, Ruth, you looked right at me and said, "You gonna take care of that?"
Yeah.
And I was like,
I give you permission.
yes,
I give you permission. Please go take care of this. Yeah.
And so like that was teaching me. And I would say to other moms and dads, if you don't have a friend like Ruth Grunstra, you be that friend. And like I have friends, like I hang up the phone, whatever. In terms of giving your kids a priority, it's more than just willing to listen. It's
Yes.
also just because I can tell you, when I stopped talking to my good new friend Ruth and started telling Sylvie and Peter that they needed to not bicker, that they needed to start being polite to one another, they knew, oh wow.
Yeah. Mom stopped what she was doing to take
Right.
care of us. And
Right.
that's the key. You have to be willing to stop what you're doing, be inconvenienced, go take care of your child. And you can't do that all the time. And if you can't, you have to teach them. This takes time. You
Yes.
take time to let them know, I can't deal with you right now, but you need to sit still until I can. Or you need to,
Right.
you give them a quickie, real quick little note of what to do.
Go sit on the couch, read this book.
Yes. And wait until I can come talk to you. And then you do it. That's
And
the
then you
biggest thing to me. I think sometimes it's so hard. We finish up what we're doing and we go on to something new because there's always so many things to do.
We forget it's priority, or we just forget either way. And if we actually forget, then come back and apologize. Right.
Exactly.
I mean, be real with your kids. Say,
Exactly.
I forgot.
Treat your children the way you want them to treat you.
Amen. Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And back to that example of like in that situation where Ruth said, Alison, you want to deal with that? Like she was giving me permission. But here's the other thing, because I know we were raised by moms, most of us, who taught us to be polite and not interrupt. Mm-hmm. But here's the deal. When my kids need my attention and I'm talking with my girlfriend, I'm either going to be rude to my girlfriend or rude to my kids.
You have to pick.
Always
Which
pick.
one?
Be rude to your girlfriend. Because if your girlfriend can't handle it, that's on her.
Have a new girlfriend.
Yeah, I mean, a friend. Like I know there's dads on the call too, but I'm talking about when you have adult friends that you're just talking adult to adult. If you don't have a friendship level that they can handle you interrupting and being rude to them so that you can prioritize your kid, that's on them. Don't you think, Ruth, or am I exaggerating?
No, I agree. And I've taught my my friends, I said, in essence, we have a very good relationship in that regard. My friends are just like you. Yeah. And I say, I got to go. And you hang up and you say,
yeah. Sometimes I don't even get to say I got to go. It's just like
click. And it's like, you just know something's going on and you don't take it. You don't take offense.
You don't take it personally.
Right. You don't take it personally. And so that's a really important, it's good to have friends like that. It's good to have relationships to help you continually grow in your own relationship with your kids. So.
Right. And in terms of prioritizing, and inconvenience, didn't you tell me a story about being at a grocery store with your kids? Now this is level 5 parenting. Tell that story of
well, we were in the store and I had a cart full of kids and a cart full of groceries, and we had been there almost 2 hours, and I had gotten everything pretty much that I needed, and I don't remember what age, a 3-year-old at the time, just melted, just fell apart, screaming in the middle of the store. And I really feel bad about that. I'm not going to stay in a store when that happens. So I took all the groceries up to the front. And I was like, I found the manager and I said, can you just keep these? My name's Ruth Grunstra. Can you please put these aside? And I'll be back. I have to just go home. I have to take my kids home. And he just looked at me and he said, I wish more moms would do this. And he did. When I came back, he had my freezer things in the
Put it back in
freezer.
the freezer and stuff.
And he shoved the whole cart into the cooler so that
See?
the cold things wouldn't get, and they were there and I didn't have to redo all of that shopping.
And this was way before online pickup, guys.
Way before.
Way before. So
We're talking 20 years ago.
I mean, I think I've certainly found myself accidentally, like, it's also some of this I think has to do with being reasonable in our perspectives of our kid. Like, I don't know the whole story of your 3-year-old who pitched a fit, but you were correct, I'm sure. Like, this is not the moment to expect your 3-year-old to just stop the fit
and to keep pushing them to keep going. You know, he was probably hungry and he needed a nap and who knows what. But you know, those things happen. It's okay. You just have to learn how to roll with those kind of things. But sometimes it's better just not to stay in that situation and to move out. But you know, with our kids, as far as like you talk about screen time and trying to get them to hear you, it's really important for them to know that you're going to hear them first. That's how they learn to hear you. That's what I'm saying. You want to treat them the way that you want them to treat you. If you want them to listen to you, listen to them. Hear what they're saying and don't judge it. It's so hard sometimes not to judge. They say something, you're going, no, I don't want to hear that. But you have to.
You have to, like, to your point, there's a little bit of judgment that I want parents to do more of, and that is recognizing kids are kids and they're childish. Like, that's normal. Like, in other words, don't take your 5-year-old to the grocery store and at lunchtime and expect him to not start whining because he's hungry. Or like for a teenager, screen time, don't just have no rules. And be grumpy when your teenager wants to play screen times all the time.
Or hides from you all the time.
Or hides from you.
Just closes like their door or whatever.
Kid. Yeah. And even teenagers, there's a big part of them that's still not an adult yet. And so, like, I'm not saying to not have high expectations, but have reasonable expectations. Is that the way to say it, Ruth? Or how would you?
I think so. I think having appropriate expectations for the age.
Good word.
Going age appropriate. Expectations of your children. So like if you're going to give chores to your children, you're not going to ask your 3-year-old to, wash the car or, but the 3-year-old can set the table, can pull the forks out of this drawer and put them on the table. I mean, there's little, you make sure that the things that you're asking of them are appropriate and not to overload them on one end or give them too much freedom on the other. There's a balance. Oh, life is a balance, as we know.
I think parenting certainly calls for emotional maturity. I know I have certainly grown up. I didn't realize kind of how immature I was when I was a young parent, but I look back.
We never do.
I mean, I think it's certainly part of the good Lord's plan for sanctifying us is to enable us to be moms and dads. And anyway, so, but regarding that thing you said about being reasonable in our expectations regarding kids and screen time, I frequently have parents that come to us and they've basically been vacant from managing screen time. And it's not even like they've been purposefully lazy.
No,
they just didn't know how big the dangers were. And so they're kind of like, oh, wow, what should I do? And so like, talk about how with teenagers, you can't just lay down the law. They need to be involved. How would you?
Well, that is exactly what I was going to say is when you have older children who are definitely needing that kind of guidance, do it with them. Just say, hey, you know what? I've been reading this article or I've been looking at this website or whatever, and say, I have some concerns about this. Let's look at this together and tell me what you think.
Yes. Let's look at this together and tell me what you think. That's the magic. That's what,
Give me your feedback. And then let's figure out the best thing for you to do because you want to be successful in life. You want to do well and I want that for you as well. So let's work together and figure out the best plan of attack for this. And we do it and you do it with them.
Brilliant. So let me just interrupt by saying, I know it's 12:15 and some of you have to scoot. So thanks for joining us, but we are going to hang on the line till 12:30. If you have questions, type them into the Facebook chat. We're monitoring that or into the Zoom webinar chat. Abby's with us. I forgot to introduce you, Abby. You want to say hello?
Hey.
Yeah, so Abby's there and she's going to be throwing some questions at us in just a minute. So type those in. And while we wait for some questions, Ruth, I'm going to just ask one more of my own. I think I remember you had this analogy about fire and kids. Tell me about that analogy because it's beautiful.
Yeah, my analogy that I got years ago, actually it was at church, was to be a fireplace for your kids. And that comes from the idea that I was watching these kids come in that were part of a youth group and you could see that they were excited and they were burning up inside. They had something that they wanted to share. They got up there and they were given a couple minutes to talk, but they were cut short. I don't know what happened. But anyway, my heart just broke. And I thought,
They
these
have
kids,
more than 2 minutes to share.
yeah, they had
So
more to share and they didn't have a place to put it. They didn't have a place to do it. And I remember thinking, we need to have a place to have these kids come to us and have a safe place that we're not going to judge them. We just want to hear what they have to say, and where they can give us their feedback and give us what God's doing in them. You know, what insights are they having? It's negative and positive, but the things that are going on in their lives, we want to have a place for them to put it. If it's too much, you know, like a fire, you want to have it contained. It needs to have
in that safe fireplace, so it doesn't burn the house down.
it needs a place to keep it safe. It also can be very beneficial once you have the fire going, because you can do things with a fire. It warms your house. You cook your food on it. You know, things happen that are good from it if it's contained properly.
If it's contained. And I love that screen that that you just had up about that image of cold water. Guilty. There's too many times my kids come to me with their passion and their excitement, and I don't. It's not like I'm purposefully, but I
don't mean to do
dump
that.
cold water on it, and I think it's from just not being.
And that fits, like if
about
you're doing something in the house and the kid comes to talk to you. If your child ever comes to talk to you, you've got to listen. And they do it when they're little. So if you have little kids, and it's hard to do that when they're little because they're talking all the time, do it anyway. Takes that time.
Do it anyway.
Mommy's going to give you a minute. Tell me what you have to say quickly. Okay, I'm going to go back to what I'm doing now. I want to hear what you have to say. It's very important. You know, you really engage them, look them in the eyes, do all that kind of stuff, and then you move away. And I was about looking in the eyes.
I love that. Yeah. Don't act out of anger. Do look them in the eyes. Don't assume the worst.
Right.
I'm also guilty about, like, I'll just see a screenshot of a game that my kid is playing. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? And I'm assuming the worst about the game and the kid, versus what you said 5 minutes ago, which is just bite my tongue.
Bite your tongue. It's the hardest thing to learn, but we have to learn it. The Bible's just full of biting your tongue, you know.
And just sit down and say, oh, tell me more. This looks interesting. So we could talk forever. I just love talking with you. But let me reach out to Abby and say, Abby, what questions are we having here?
So we've got a quick one from Anna. She's wondering about tips for putting kids off when they do come to you and they want to share something, but you're actually in the middle of something and you don't want to diffuse them, but then you also have to actually finish what you're doing.
Yeah. So again, basically, you have to somehow communicate with your child quickly in that moment. I don't have time right now. I will talk to you. Go grab a book and sit down and wait for me, or whatever. Keep working on it. I'll be right over it. I'll get you as soon as I can. Just so make sure that they're occupied doing something constructive if you can, while they're waiting. And then, or say, I cannot talk to you right now. I can come in 1 hour. I can come talk to you. And then you make sure you go to them, say, hey, you wanted to talk to me about an hour ago. And I know that I put you off, but I really couldn't not do that. But I want to hear what you have to say now. And you make that point of going to them when you say you're going to go to them and connecting with them. Then.
Right. And I would add to agreed. And with this idea of diffusing, I think Abby, was the question kind of how to diffuse?
Like if the kid's a fire, you don't want to diffuse the fire.
Right, exactly.
You don't want to pour water on it.
You don't want to quench it.
You don't want to quench it. Right.
I think, the other day you and I were talking about that sandwich strategy that it's age old. We didn't make it up. It's like, I love you, and then put the meat in the middle, and then I love you. Sometimes it's I love you, do this or else I love you. Sometimes it's some other kind of meat.
Yeah.
And it doesn't literally have to be I love you, but it's a mnemonic device to think. So in this case, you're busy.
It's positive, then correction, then positive.
Yes. Or in this case, it could be, hey, I can tell you're really excited about this. That's a positive statement. That's an I love you statement. Eye contact. I can tell you're really excited about this. I just can't talk right now, but it's important to me to hear you. So I'm going to talk to you in an hour, right? I mean, would you say even for a teenager, that might sound a little childlike-ish? I don't know, childish. I don't think it sounds demeaning to even a teenager to be that.
No, and you have to have your own language with your teenagers. Yeah. You don't, you try not to treat your teenager like you do your 2-year-old and your 2-year-old like a teenager, but that still happens a little bit. There's a little bit of overlap, but the bottom line is they need to know, I hear you. I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
And I will be coming back to talk to you when I have a minute to do that. And if there's, some kind of a situation where and you can say, I don't want to throw cold water on your thoughts.
Yeah.
Say that, say, I want to hear what you have to say. I want to keep this going. I will be back in just a minute when I can give you my time. And the more you do that with your child, the more they're going to know that you're going to be available. I've had my friend, from years ago, her little girl, she had left the house. I think she was babysat, and she came back, and there was somebody came and asked her where her mother was or something. She goes, I don't know, but she'll be back soon. She was totally like at peace about it. And knowing that you having that confidence as a child, knowing that mom's going to take care of me, mom's going to be there, dad's going to be there, whoever's my caretaker is going to be there. That goes a long way to it. So it's just a matter of slowly training them to realize I am going to listen to you.
Right. And guys, it's a long
follow
game.
my
It's
word.
never too late. Going back to the first thing, if you're joining us late, just understand the first thing we said is it's never too late.
Never.
So it's never too late.
Where there's life, there's hope.
Where there's life, there's hope. Check out bristolparenting.com. There's some great articles there. Find a friend at church who looks like she has well-behaved kids. Ask her for advice. Parenting is complicated. Yes, what I've done. It's complicated. You cannot just read a book or listen to a webinar and fix it. I wish you could sometimes.
There's no magic pill. There's no magic pill.
So what are our other questions, Abby?
One more from Terry. Sounds like he's wondering, he's got a 17-year-old who just is brushing him off. He can't even talk to him because the kid's just completely ignoring him.
Is it possible to plan a weekend away together? I mean, take him somewhere, do something. I mean, you're talking 17, you're talking, an older teenager. The time to connect has got to be protected, and it's got to be, I don't know what the word is. There's no one else around, so that's he and his dad, or I think you said it was a dad, but yeah, more than, maybe go out to dinner, but make it something special. It's got to be, start maybe something small, but say, I want to get to know you. They have to understand, I need to know you. This is my job. I'm your dad. I'm your mom. I want to know you. And let's go. I want to take you out to dinner. Where do you want to go? What's your favorite restaurant? Anywhere.
Anywhere. What's your favorite restaurant? Yep. And then I would add to that, if they don't open up, like maybe it's 90% you talking and the kid, because I'll share a story from this, because I've had some teenagers where we've been through some rough patches, and I'm not ashamed to say it was my husband who peeled back the onion and said, Alison, part of this is your fault. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, Tim just helped me see there was some relationship patterns that I honestly wasn't even aware of. And so I would just say, in terms of, it's never too late. Part of that is it's never too late to look within yourself and say, what do I still have to do to reach better emotional maturity and to grow up? Because guys, we all know as adults, you walk into the room and you set the mood of the room. Like if there's 5 adults, there's 5 moods. And if there's one of those 5 in a bad mood, but I don't know what the issue is of this teenager who won't talk at age 17, but I'm just going to throw out there, maybe there was some mistakes made from the teenager or the adult 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. Wouldn't you say, Ruth?
Sure.
And so and maybe that's part of what you tell your kid is like, look, I know you're almost an adult.
If you know that there's something specific that has happened in the past that has shut that child out, apologize.
Yeah.
Please forgive me. I do not want to live like this. I want a relationship with you. And what can I do to get there? What do I need to do to help you open up to me and trust me? Because maybe you weren't trustworthy earlier, and maybe you did judge, maybe you did something hard. I don't know. I'm just saying,
I don't know. Yeah.
Being open yourself and being vulnerable yourself is going to go a long way to opening your child.
Yeah. And I'll share too, a friend of mine had a relationship very rocky with her teenager. And it wasn't until her teenager got into the 20s or 30s and actually posted something that appeared malicious for her mom. And the mom asked me for advice. There were 2 of us. And the other person said, just forget it. She doesn't like you. And I said, I wouldn't give up yet. And she's like, what do you do? I said, I don't know what you do, but you keep saying I love you. So how can you do that? And I can say it took 5 years, but the mom, who both of them were adults at this point, just started writing letters. And what you said, Ruth, was the key. She just kept saying, I don't want it to be like this. I know you're an adult now, because the 17-year-old is almost an adult, right?
Yes.
I mean,
oh, totally.
So you have an opportunity to say, look, we're going to have this relationship for the rest of our lives.
Yeah. I don't want it to end like this.
Help me figure this out. And I think the mom and for her, it was letters. I don't know if your 17-year-old wants letters or phone calls or text. Try it all, right? I mean, it's something.
Right. You keep trying, and
you just keep trying.
Yeah. You just keep trying, but you have to be willing to go vulnerable yourself.
Yes.
You have to be willing to ask forgiveness. You have to be willing to be an adult with them. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like be the adult.
Right. And that's what it was so beautiful for me to see that unfold over many years, because what happened is the mom, again, they were both adults. She literally didn't know what she had done. And it took a lot of just positive. But finally the adult daughter said, Mom, here's what you did when I was 15 and you didn't know. And the mom was like,
she had no idea.
I didn't know. And so it's like, she couldn't even say, please forgive me, because she didn't know what,
She didn't know she had to ask forgiveness.
Right, right. So talk
And
a little, yeah. So talk a little more about eye contact. That was on one of those slides, but I've discovered there's more to it than just have eye contact. I think one time you talked about getting on eye level, and I think
sure.
even for teenagers, not just younger kids, like what does that mean?
Well, I've always been one who gets eye level with my kids, and I make
Yeah.
them look at my eyes. Look at my eyes. You're not going to get away
And
from this.
wait. I
And if
remember
their eyes start wandering, I pull them right back.
I just chew my tongue. I saw you do that. So I've copied that from you. I just don't talk until they're looking at me.
Look at me. Yeah, you stare at them.
I'll wait.
Anyway, and it's really interesting. I just had a daughter who just got a speeding ticket, and she came back home and she was like so excited. She was actually really grateful. She came and told me, "Thank you for teaching me to look in your eyes, because when the police officer was talking to me, I could look him right in the eyes." And I told him exactly what had happened, and it ended up going from a speeding ticket to a faulty equipment charge. So, not that that's going to happen every time, but she was able to look at him in the eyes, even though she was
Be an
scared.
adult.
And
Yeah.
she was nervous.
Yeah.
But she knew how to do that because we had done that at home. So I thought that was encouraging.
Yeah. Yeah. So eye level meaning
I get on their
not
level.
talking down to them.
If they're little, you get on
Yeah.
their knees. Get on your knees or put them up on your lap. Make them equal with you. So you're looking right in their eye. You're not looking down at them. It's really important for them to feel like they're part of the conversation, not being just drilled down on. That's important. They need to feel like they have the freedom to speak back with you, not at you, not against you, but that you're having a dialogue. So you're on your equal playing field. You keep the playing field level. So, and that's what eye contact to me does. You get on their level, you get down and you look at them and you get them to talk.
Yeah. And all this is keying back to how do you get your kids to talk? So the question is, my kid won't listen to me. And then it's really like, that's not the right question, right? The question is, how can you help your kid talk to you and listen to him so that he will listen to you? And that's the long game. That's like the long fix. There is no quick fix.
You're building a relationship.
You're building a relationship.
You're connecting with them. And that's the key. You have to connect.
Right. So any other questions, Abby? I know we're coming up toward the bottom of the hour, so I don't know if there are any other questions.
Really quick, someone's asking about guiding healthier friendships and then also maybe steering away from less healthy friendships.
Ooh, good question.
That's a hard one. But yeah, that's how you get it. Again, it goes back to that relationship that you have with your child and going through it together, saying, is this a good relationship for you? Once you have that relationship with your child, you can ask those questions. You can talk about those things. What about this friend over here? What about this friend group over here? Are they leading you into the things you want to do? What are you dreaming about? What are you
dreaming about?
What do you want to do with your life? And then you say, is this leading you toward that or away from it? And so you can have them make that decision, because if they make the decision, they have to own it. If they don't own it, you're kind of, you have to keep working at them owning what their decision making is going to be, because that whatever they own is what they're going to do. So you work on them thinking critically. Is this going to be a good thing for me or a bad thing for me? And they can learn how to do that when they're at home with you, helping guide them. So
right. And you ask, so say there's Susie that you don't like, that you're really concerned your kid's hanging out with. You don't say, I don't like Susie. You say, hey, help me understand what Susie's like. I know it seems to me like you like to spend time with Susie. And then the kid might say, well, not really. It's just Jane likes Susie and I like Jane. Or you just never know. But if you lead with, it seems to me like, or please help me understand, then it's not accusatory. Even if in your head you're full of accusatory. I remember, that's one of the things I learned from you, Ruth, was watching you use language that helps your kids not throw up those defensiveness. Right.
Keeping it open. The whole point is to keep everything open.
And so the assumption is I could be wrong. I don't understand. Dear kid, please help me understand. Right. And
yep, exactly. So you want to make sure that stays open. You want to keep that relationship open, and then you can talk about it. Then they'll talk to you. The bottom line is, once they feel safe with you, they will talk to you.
And being safe reminds me, you said something the other day about not teasing your kids. I think too many parents, it's like we forget it's one thing to laugh with your kids, but if you start laughing at your kids just for being a kid in front of other adults, that can devastate the relationship. I have seen it happen, where a mom and a mom swap stories about, you wouldn't believe what John did the other day. And it's not it's funny mom to mom, but John's standing right there.
Yeah.
And John overhears that he's the brunt of the joke and he doesn't understand. Tell me more about
Well, it's just devastating. You need to be the mature one in the relationship. And if you're growing up when you're young and you have your kids and you're young and they're young, and you grow with that. But I personally, I would work at working on my maturity, my emotional maturity, making sure that I'm not setting my child up for failure. Because really, if you make them the butt of a joke, you're setting them up for failure.
And he doesn't understand. Maybe it is a butt of
don't want that
adult joke. Like my kid said this and then that, but it's not funny to the kid.
Right, because they don't know. They don't understand.
It's the butt of the joke. It was like, I remember when I was teaching Sunday school and a kid, I said, "Where do we worship?" And he said, "In the cemetery." That was hilarious as a mom-to-mom joke. But I told the mom, I said, "Don't tell this joke in front of Johnny, because Johnny won't understand why it's funny."
No,
I mean, right? No. Johnny wouldn't try. And I said, "I think it's a sanctuary," because I was a Sunday school. The mom wasn't even there. You said, like,
right, exactly.
I got to hear the actual slip, and it was all I could do. Not go,
But that's important not to in those moments,
because laughing at versus laughing with. Yeah.
And you can even explain it. If you have a joke like that and the child's old enough, and say, "Oh no, the word is sanctuary, but cemetery is where dead people go." That's kind of funny, isn't it? And you can make it into you can make it lighthearted, but you have to protect their integrity. You have to protect their heart. You're protecting them. You're protecting them. And that's what I didn't do a little bit. I was a little bit too I teased, and I did some things that were inappropriate as a mom, not knowing at the time, because I was raised like that. So, I had to learn that the hard way. We all learn, you learn as you go.
The thing I did too much when I was a young mom was pitching a fit in front of my kids, or what. Like, kids, would you please stop whining? I mean, you can ask my oldest kids and they will remember I did that. I'm not proud of it, but it's like, I didn't even realize I'm the one whining.
Right. So then they learn to whine.
And then they learn to whine.
You're going to get all that whining back.
No surprise. Yeah. Like, you got to be the adults in the room. So anyway, well, it's the bottom of the hour. So if you have further questions, I guess I don't want to keep Ruth waiting, but you can go to your website. You want to tell about your website? Just wrap up telling us about your website and what kind of resources you've got there. And I think we have a link we can put.
Sure. The website is bristolparenting.com. And I can take questions there. If you have any questions, that's fine. And I have lots of articles on there from newborn information, if you're a new mom, new parent, all the way up to just how to deal with your kids as they grow up, and sending them off to college, sending them off to get married, just life as we've experienced it, and the things I've learned along the way. I just kind of write articles about it. So try to pass on the wisdom.
Well, and I'm so glad you are, because the world needs more of this wisdom that the good Lord's given you. So with that, we'll sign off. But just thanks for joining us during this hour, and thanks for coming, Ruth. Yeah. We're so glad to have you. All right, all for now. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.